I want to talk a few minutes about what it can feel like when you realize that you are getting yourself out of a loop. Um, I'm speaking specifically to human relationships of all kinds. Oftentimes, the information comes through the most clear when someone is in reflection about the way that they have been experiencing being in relationship with a person, their work, um, a group, a family. But you realize how you have been existing and what your dynamics have been while you have been in this loop, this prevailing way of holding on to something, holding on to this desire to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be recognized or validated in a small way, in a great way. To me, the idea of it is just immeasurable. So that part doesn't matter. But what is most relevant is that you come online, your emotions come online, and you just start to let yourself actually acknowledge what you're feeling about having not been seen by your person or over a span of time. And this loop that shows up for you, like this winding rope of just craziness, right? It's very wow. It's daunting to have this sense of, wow, I've really been stuck for all this time, holding in my imagination. This is a person who is functioning in passivity, never being upfront or straightforward or direct to the people that they love or just people that you're close with in any proximity. It can be almost awe-striking to you when you it's like looking in a mirror at yourself and seeing, I really have been letting myself hold on to an imaginary sense of the way I want this thing to happen for me through these other sources, but you never communicate it. And then by the time you probably do have this sense of process of elimination, well, maybe if I try this, they'll notice. Maybe if I do, tell them in a letter or send them something cute and have a little, not snarky note, but some kind of insinuative statement that you think, you hope, but you're thinking, instead of just being direct and saying, this is what I really would like. This is what would help me to, be confirmed and validated with you that you care. But when that doesn't happen and you let it go on like that over a very long time, like you just allow this loop to just continue circling you. And at some point, some kind of thing grabs your attention in that space, in that point of ouch or and you realize you have been stuck in this place of not being direct, not, and also never getting the thing that you desire, never giving it to yourself first. Let's start there. But consisting of this energy of passivity. That's really all it is. And where does that come from? There's this fearfulness that if I am direct or upfront, I'm going to seem needy, or I am being unkind. It's not nice for a lady to be direct. And then you've got those folks who believe in nuance, who speak to these qualities that a quote unquote lady should have in her ability to communicate what it is she desires, what it is she wants, and be able to get it without being direct. So, hi, my name is Tamika, and I have practiced passivity and indirect communication for over 50 years. Okay? I'm gonna leave that there for a minute. It doesn't pay. It causes you the gravest harm. It causes you the most uncomfortable life experience throughout most of your relationships. Yeah, it's uncomfortable to sit in that way of being in the world where you're looking all around you and realizing this has never served me. I have been like the last in line, or you fill in your own blank, but honestly, it never does you any good. And then these things come, the reality of how you've been existing, subsisting for you've just been allowing yourself to be under this spell of foolishness, of invaluing, devaluing yourself when it comes to what you desire in the world. And you let it boil into this thing that it is hurt, it is pain, because you're consistently going, I'm like this, and I treat and handle people this way. And you expect the world to give you what you give the world. You expect people to give you you. That's not the way. And it doesn't serve, because here you are many years later, holding, you realize, because now your body is telling you, your body is speaking to you clearly in pain, in headaches, in weight gain, in trying to figure out why your belly's growing. And yeah, okay, menopause, but also there are many women far beyond your years who are so healthy and strong and virulent and just straightforward. It's not even a thought. And so what happens is your anger comes online. You begin to recognize how much time you existed holding this energy, being in that loop of frustration, because you're asking yourself inwardly, why don't they see me? Why do I have to say what I need? If they care about me, if they love me, why wouldn't they just show up? Why wouldn't they just see me? More than one reason I can tell you. It's unfair for anybody to expect anybody to read your mind. It's unfair. The way that most of us in the Western world live, nobody's practicing that. And is it all right for us to have to do that with our loved ones anyway? Because they're a person too. They're human. They're living life just like you are. So you hold this expectation and you are growing beyond your hurt. Your hurt is becoming anger, and your anger is forming into something that's hurting your body physically. You're becoming bitter. And then you cut people off, and then you realize why you've preferred solitude or soloisms, because you don't want to have to open your mouth and say, I really like this. And even if you've had interactions with people throughout your life, enjoyable ones, where there's talk about, your hobbies or your habits or the things that you do when you're not in your vocation or not focused on earning, but you're just in leisure of life. What do? People like to ask those kinds of questions, especially like a get to know you type of thing. But more than that, you find out how that is either just small talk or if someone's actually taking note. You are one of those people who are actually taking note of what the person is sharing with you about themselves. And so you hold this concept in your mind that, well, if I can do this, you fill in the rest. You know where I'm going with this. The loop breaks when you come to your point of allowing the hurt to really, really just like punch you in the gut, basically. When you realize your physical exhaustion is not even because you're doing a whole lot physically. When you recognize how your body has had enough of your passivity. So imagine you have loved ones around you or just, that you're in contact with, and they decide that they have the capacity to communicate these things with you about how you've been showing up with them, how they have experienced you. It can take a lot out of you. It can be like having the wind knocked out of you because you're being faced with yourself at that moment. And the loop is breaking. It is like coming to a full halt. And all of the pain and all of the hurt that you've ever felt, it shows up. But it's not showing up like there's a reason for you to be defensive about it. You get to explain, wow, from your own realization, I've been doing this to myself. I've been harboring this pain that has turned into anger because you feel like you haven't been seen by the people you've most wanted to be seen by. So, holding that expectation comes full circle to face you and tell you pretty much that we've been harming ourselves this whole time. I've been hurting me this whole time. For what? I've been bound to this expectation that I expect people to give me me. But you weren't giving you all along. Let that sink in for a moment. So the act after that for the self is not to go into pity, and you will feel many different emotions. It will feel like a very deep, dark low. It's so important at this point to be in an environment where you feel safe, where it's clear to you that you have, if you think you need it, permission to express your hurt, which from that place starts from the anger or maybe even the bitterness and the resentment that you've been holding. And the full circle moment is when you realize it's never been about what those people didn't do for you, how they didn't validate you or make you feel something that you wanted. But you recognize how important it is for you to be true to yourself. All along, the anger, the hurt, the stomach aches, the upset, the heart palpitations sometimes when you're just like, from where is this coming from? What's going on? Your body is responding to all the things that you've been holding for so long and never expelling, never expressing, or not expressing directly, not saying, hey, I'm over here. This is what I want. This is what I like. This is what I need in order for me to exist with you, to share space and time with you. And then step 2, being honest with yourself about whether or not it's an invitation for you to exit a person, a place, a situation. You owe it to yourself to take that next step so that you don't stay in the loop. And that is a loop of delusion. It is a loop of harm, self-harm. Because even if you can go back and sit down and journal and reflect and write about and think through, I shared this with my loved one in a coffee conversation. It was brief, but were you direct? Did you say, you know what, this is really important to me? And here's the other thing that we don't give credence to in moments of this kind of recognition is that people have been watching us all this time. And they have been holding their own perception about you this whole time. They've been holding that, oh, she's got it. She's good. She doesn't need anything. Whether you see that as something as selfish or not, this is human. This is human behavior. And it's something that over time, when you really let yourself look at the whole circle, you realize how much grace that person might have been giving you. And so you realize, okay, I'm human. And if I'm feeling this way, who knows what they're experiencing? Who knows how they have been looking at me? And so maybe I need to give some grace to myself and them. The whole thing is centered around not knowing yourself the way you probably thought you did. And even if you think you know yourself, but you continue to show the world how to treat you in your physical way of being, but your communication hasn't matched with that desire that you have so deeply embedded in yourself, how will they know? Why do you expect them to know? So I wanted to look at this from a place of your anger coming online. It comes online because it's a natural, domino effect of the pain that you've been holding and you've been letting something fester, and then it becomes something else, a little more stronger every time you choose not to be direct, not to be assertive. There's this thing in our society, the world over, not just in America, but we are taught there's a certain way that women show up that's socially acceptable, and there's a certain way that it's acceptable for men to show up. And all of those norms are the very things that keep us imprisoned, because it tells us how we're supposed to be from the outside and how we get to negate knowing, inquiring from within. How do I feel? How do I want to feel? And whose responsibility is it for me to execute that or to become more familiar with that? It's always going to be on me. The mirror doesn't reflect another person to us when we look at it. It's always showing us ourselves. I hope with all my heart that this lands for someone, because my goodness, it has landed like a ton of bricks for me. And I have been letting myself feel this and move through it so that I could be a better me. Not because I want to point a finger at anyone, but you tell yourself over and over again the life you want to live, the quality of that life you want to live. And yet you remain imprisoned by things that you don't have control over. And then the things that you do have control over, you don't allow those things to lead you or guide you. You don't trust yourself enough to tap one of the buttons that's in your control panel that you actually get to say, okay, if I do this, this can happen for me. If I do that, that can happen for me. Either way, it's a win. You're never going to lose. You're always going to learn, especially if it's about yourself. So I'm inviting you to let the loop unravel and allow the fullness of yourself to come online. As I do the same for me, I'm not an expert. I'm not even a therapist. I'm a person who believes in tapping into her soul and letting it speak to me and allowing the things that I have learned about myself to not be for nothing. Like, it's so important to me to not repeat things, especially painful, uncomfortable, harmful things that don't serve my life's growth, doesn't serve me experiencing what I said I desired. So please consider how valuable it is for you to validate yourself first. And in that, I mean exactly what I've been saying this entire time. Not expecting the world to give you you if you're not giving you you. And that can sound like something crazy or a puzzle, but it's legitimately, you are your best friend. And if you wouldn't treat your best friend like that, consider what you're doing to yourself. If you wouldn't let your best friend be on the outs about who you are because you've shared some secrets, some, very intimate things, why are you doing that to yourself? Don't you want to know how good it can be, how good things can get if you haven't been doing it that way before? Start now. Be good to yourself.